pleasure and my great honor to be talking with Jamie Stock today. So, my name is Crystal Lachlan from Angel Aid, and Welcome to Our World is our series designed to shine a light on rare mothers. And in particular, Jamie, you were the recipient of our International Rare Mothers of the Year Award this past October, which was so exciting. Congratulations!
You.
Yeah, we came up with the idea to do this reward um, as really an opportunity to shine a light on rare mothers around the world. And there's no hierarchy of experience for rare mothers, right?
No.
Right. So we went through all these iterations of do we do criteria, and do we have all of these different application processes? And we just decided in the end that we would invite mothers to self-nominate, and that we would nominate mothers that we've had an opportunity to come in contact with through our various programs throughout the year. And so we nominated you, and then we did a random selection,
I
and
know.
voila, and your name popped up. So,
Yeah.
so that's so great. Um, I think what would be great is if we could spend a few minutes and just have you introduce yourself to our community and tell your story a little bit.
Okay. Well, I am Jamie Stock. I am a single mother of five beautiful children. My oldest and only son has autism. And then I have four girls, if you can believe it. And my youngest has BPAN, which is what I am a carrier of. And I have a background, I have a double master's in education and special education. So I felt like, well, that's kind of convenient that I can deal with disabilities and things like that because I've been doing it for 10 years. Nothing would prepare me for BPAN though. There's not a lot of material out there. There's like eight, I think, research articles about it, period. There's like maybe 250 people in the world that have it. So, very limited. But it definitely taught me a lot about being a better person. And we are actually undergoing genetic testing to see which gene specific I am the carrier of, because we know which one is the mutation for BPAN, but we don't know which one it is that I'm carrying because they think that my 7-year-old might have a variant of that condition.
Wow. And is this something as a mother that you picked up on right away, or was it over time? Like, talk about your journey as the mother, sort of instinctually knowing that something's going on.
So we knew in 2018, it was maybe in the spring, my daughter she was kind of delayed, but she's also the youngest of four other kids. So as a mom, I thought, can you not do it? Do you not want to do it? Is it because you have other people doing it for you? And then we were going to make an appointment to have her evaluated. And then she had a 20-minute febrile seizure and was intubated, and we almost lost her. But what started the journey of the genetic testing is that neither her dad nor I have any history at all on either side of our family of seizures. And so thankfully, we had an amazing, amazing neurologist who said, no, I don't like this answer. We're not just going to say, oh, maybe she'll grow out of it. And I'm so glad she pushed. And then 1 week after COVID lockdown, what a year 2020 was, we got her diagnosis, and I got called on my 7-year-old's birthday of all days, telling me about my daughter's condition. And so if it's okay just to kind of go into what her condition is it's a mutation. And what happens is, instead of getting rid of the dead cells in the body, it accumulates, becomes this deposit of iron on the brain. And as a result, she has a lot of different disabilities and health concerns. So she can't regulate her temperature. So anytime she gets too hot or too cold, she can go into shock and have seizures. And then the seizures, and then she also has blindness. She's legally blind at 4 years old. She also is nonverbal. She has low tone in her muscles. So the fact that she can walk is a miracle, because most of the people with BPAN don't walk. She also has problems swallowing. She aspirates most of what she eats, so we have to use a special thickener for her food. She will probably never be toilet trained. She's very delayed developmentally. But at the same time, I feel like it's a blessing that she doesn't know that anything's wrong. And so we don't treat her like anything's wrong. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, she has to abide by the same rules. We don't bite people. We have to be decent humans. And she is such an angel in our family. And having her and learning that I was the one to carry that gene that caused this during development, I couldn't even take it in. For 2 weeks, I just cried. I thought, you're grieving the loss of a life that you thought you had for your child. Her life, what happens is as time progresses, she will start to have Parkinson-like symptoms with the muscle rigidity, and then eventually she'll lose the ability to swallow and breathe completely. So her life expectancy is like late teens, early 20s. And nothing could have prepared me for that. There's not, like you said, there's not an application, there's not a level of graduate work that you go through and then you're like, okay, you got through the hard stuff, now you get your degree. It's just boom, there it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And and what is your coping mechanism? That sounds so uh, such a light-hearted question for such a heavy
Right.
daily existence, but you get sensitized to this reality. How have you found a way forward, or maybe you
Yeah.
haven't, right?
Well,
And so
when I so it's kind of like I tell everybody, it's like a wave. It's a wave of grief, and then life becomes a norm and it kind of goes back out to sea. You get a new wave and you get used to it. But when I got hit with the wave in, so she was diagnosed March, then she had another seizure in July, and this is all in 2020. And then in August 2020 we found out she had night blindness. And then I found out October 2020 that her muscle rigidity was coming quicker than we thought, and that she was showing symptoms of kids who were actually about 12 years old, which meant her ending may be coming sooner than others. And so distraught is an understatement. I was just completely lost and I knew I needed to do something. And I was talking with a good friend, and she said, you have to realize you have to take care of you if you're going to take care of her. It's kind of like putting the oxygen mask on first. And I said, that is so true. So I did a lot of soul searching at 3 a.m. I don't know what that's about, but apparently God wanted to talk to me. And my angels were speaking, and the name of an emotional, she's a she's an emotional coach specifically to mothers of children with special needs.
okay.
And I thought, how ironic is that? I mean, Alexa must have been listening. So, and I got in touch with her. And for 17 weeks, we went through coping skills, trainings, breathing techniques, and all of that. And just having somebody to release taught me such great skills. But as things continue to progress and, those waves come and go, one of the best things I've learned is journaling, music, and I take midnight baths because all the kids are sleeping. And that's the best time to take a hot bath with no one banging on the door.
Right, right. Wow. So these are very humanistic daily coping mechanisms,
Mm,
right? This isn't, I'm going on some transformative retreat, it's I'm going to take a midnight bath a few times a week. This is my, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. How did you find your way into the Angel Aid community?
I honestly don't even know the path.
Mhm.
At one point, there is a community in a nearby city in my town that they send sensory items for kids with disabilities. And I thought, oh my gosh, how sweet is that? And I was going to pay for it. And they're like, no, 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 no. We don't expect payment. We just do this out of caring. And she sent my name on, and ironically of all people, Paige Rogers sent me this beautiful card. She didn't sign it, but I knew who it came from because I know her signature, um, her writing. And it was a beautiful beanbag, lavender scented eye mask. It was amazing. And just the card to this day is still up on my fridge. And so when I was getting emails that said, hey, would you like to join this community? I thought, once again, my angels are talking to me. I need to speak to somebody. And it was so healing and supportive when I went through that Rare Mothers community cohort for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've just been inducted into the family ever since.
Oh, that's so beautiful. We're preparing for our next Rare Mothers Wellness Retreat in just a few weeks. Um, we're actually flying out a few of the Rare Mothers that went through our in-person retreat experience back in 2019 um, next week, which will be, a really beautiful reunion, I think, and to see the support that these women have been providing to each other ongoing for quite a few years now, I think is a testimony to, to how needed it is, and also humanistic it is just to come together and talk and love on each other
Yes.
and cry together and talk with each other, right? Yeah, absolutely. I remember, Jamie, some reflections that you had on being a caregiver, with the knowledge of being a carrier in particular. And I wondered if you could maybe share a little bit on how you've come to terms with that piece, because there's a lot of things you can control in your life, but your genetics are not one of them, right? So I just wondered if you had thoughts.
That knowing that I was the carrier and not blaming myself for my daughter's condition while still feeling guilt because she came through my stream and my bloodline. I think that took the most amount of work and emotional and mental coping, even spiritual, because I had to get into a mental headspace where I could say, you know what, this is not in my hands. Like you said, we don't choose our genetics. I didn't handpick and say, I'd like to have my child have this disability. And if she could not live past her 20s, nobody says that.
Mm-mm.
And, I had shared in that I have a 10-year-old who's the biggest sweetheart, just absolutely adores her sister. And she said, Mama, if I'm like you, I don't want to have kids because I don't want them to have to live with that. Knowing that that's how she feels and that that's how my children see it is a really heavy thing. And I've become really close with my angels and my family and friends who support me and have just learned to just kind of get rid of it because I can't do anything to change it. Grieving it, worrying about it, none of that is going to change the outcome. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So why not make the best of it while I go through it?
That's so brave. It's so brave, Jamie. And I personally resonate with this um, feeling. My mother, as you may know, was a carrier of Hunter syndrome, and three of her five children, three of my older brothers, passed away from Hunter's. And I'm a carrier of Hunter's, and my daughter is a carrier of Hunter's. And I wake up every day doing the work that we do because I want my daughter to grow up in the community, and I want her to see that there's so much hope and that there's so much beauty in these families and so much love and joy amidst the
Mhm.
despair, and that's the yin and yang of life, right? Like that is, and we're so aware of that in the rare disease community, and it is a gift of perspective, but it is really difficult to live with sometimes. And and so I really thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. We're heart sisters on that level.
Yes.
Absolutely. Um, you know this as well as I do, that there's so many more options now for our sons and daughters, knowing that we carry this disease,
Mhm.
um, whatever the disease is. The knowing is so critical, right? Because then you can make choices.
Right.
And I remember a day when there weren't options for genetic testing, and there weren't options to um, you know look at situations prenatally and things like that. And it's a very complicated topic, and we explored it deeply in our rare carriers workshop. But it's sort of the gift and challenge of knowledge, right?
Yes.
And that's that's just the reality that we live with. If you knew now, knew then what you know now, what would you tell a rare mother that's recently come into awareness that she's going to be living this life as a caregiver?
I think the biggest thing is grace for yourself. But also, one of the big things that I try to teach, I am a member of many communities of like single parents with special needs kids or different things like that, is let your kids see you cry because you're teaching them how to cope. And by hiding it, you're teaching them that it's not okay to cry and to have these human emotions that are so difficult to carry. And so, like I said, when we found out and got the call from the genetic counselor, it was on the day of my daughter's sixth birthday of all days. And my kids came home and I had, I did the ugly cry with the puffy eyes and the red eyes and the raccoon eyes. And I had to explain to them what was going on. And we just had a big ball party. And then we moved the birthday party to the next day.
Yeah.
But I think there is healing and like you, I love that you talk about the evolution of change. When I was growing up, I'm almost 40. When I was growing up and my dad is Chinese, you don't show emotion, you don't talk about things, you just pretend everything's perfect. And one of the things I love that you mentioned is with the rare mothers, I don't know if there was ever a session I didn't cry.
Yeah.
But I didn't. It was so great to have that safe place to cry. And it was so amazing. And knowing that, I think the biggest thing is knowing that I didn't have to go through it alone and I wasn't going through it alone, because when I first did, and to be told, oh, there's like a 0.0001% of the world that has this condition, good luck. And I thought, where do I start? How do you start? It's just you get hit with that tsunami of emotions and hit with this new world. And I love it because rare mothers, even if we don't have the same genetic makeup or the same carrier disease or things like that, we still share the same emotions. And that love for each other that we have as we go through things. I've become personal friends with some of the mothers from that cohort, and they'll just message me on Facebook or text me from time to time. I was thinking about you. How is your heart today? And I said, oh man, I don't know if you want the answer today, but how I needed it. And it has been so amazing. And just learning to stop being in control, let whatever higher powers you believe in take the wheel and lean on others for support. It's not a bad thing. It's not weakness. It's a moment of strength, I think, in all honesty, to say that you need help.
Yeah, yeah. We say no, no one can understand. Literally, like no one on the planet can understand more than another rare mother, even if it's not in the same disease. And in fact, most of the time, we hear from mothers that it's actually quite nice to set the disease down,
Right.
set down the conversation of all the symptom management and are there clinical trials and all of that sort of left brain triage list of things that, is supposed to happen, and just step into that heart space of listening and listening without judgment. That's, how often are we like advised, let me try to fix this for you. It's like, no, you're not going to fix this for me. But,
Yep.
yeah. Um, all right. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share? Things that we
Um,
covered or didn't cover today?
no, I would just say reach out, start looking, even if you feel alone. There are so many resources you don't even know. There were things, and I've taught special ed for 10 years, and there were things that I didn't know. And I thought, I didn't know. And so we are actually in the process. I'm hiding my background so you can't see. We're making way for a sensory room for my daughter through Make a Wish. And after that, I can actually become one of their donor matches to help set up other families to match with their wishes. So I can kind of carry on what has been gifted to me.
Wow, that sounds really powerful. I think we need to think about that model for Angel Aid. I think that there's something in there. I'm always hearing from mothers that they want to do more for
Mhm.
other mothers. So we'll have to think about that. Maybe you can advise us with that,
Yeah,
Jamie.
that'd be fun.
I'm so grateful to you. I'm so in awe of how you've taken this experience and found a way to live authentically every day with the whole range of emotions that I'm sure come your way. And before we hit record, I said, "How are you doing?" And what was your response?
Said, well, it's
Yeah,
been a week.
it's been a week, right? And so it's not a sugar-coated existence, but it certainly is a sweet life. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yes, of course, anytime.